The invitation to his wedding with my best friend arrived the same day I found his texts begging me to come back. I laughed, tossed both into the shredder, and adjusted the diamond on my finger, the size of his entire apartment. My new husband walked in, kissed my forehead and whispered, ready to show them what they lost. I wasn't just ready, I was about to become their biggest regret. 6 months earlier, my life had been completely different. I still remember that Thursday evening like it was yesterday. The scent of Thai takeout lingered in the air as I juggled 2 bags of food and a small wrapped gift box, concert tickets to Alex's favorite band. After 3 months of overtime at the marketing agency, I had finally closed the Henderson account and secured my promotion. It was time to celebrate and apologize to Alex for being so absent. Alex. I called out as I pushed open the door to our apartment. I brought dinner and have a surprise. The lights were dimmed, and for a moment I thought he might have fallen asleep waiting for me. Then I heard it, hushed whispers and the distinct sound of our bedroom door clicking shut. Alex. My voice faltered this time, the food bag suddenly heavy in my hands. He appeared in the hallway, hair disheveled, wearing only sweatpants. His face drained of color when he saw me. Zara, you're early. I thought you had that dinner meeting. I set the food down on the counter, my heart racing. It ended sooner than expected. I wanted to surprise you. That's great, he stammered, glancing nervously toward our bedroom. I knew before I even asked. Who's in our bedroom, Alex? Zara, listen. But I was already moving past him, pushing open the door to find Maya, my childhood friend, my bridesmaid-to-be, scrambling to button her blouse, her lipstick smudged across her face. The same face that had cried with me through breakups since high school. The same person who had helped me pick out furniture for the apartment I shared with Alex. Oh my God, she whispered, tears already forming. Zara, I can explain. How long? The question came out calmer than I felt. Alex stepped between us. It just happened, Zara. It was just this once. How long? My voice was steel now. Maya looked down, unable to meet my eyes. 3 months, she whispered. 3 months. The exact time I'd been working late on the Henderson account. The promotion I thought would finally give us the financial stability to start planning our wedding. Zara, please. Alex reached for my arm. You've been so distant, always working. You're barely home. I stepped back, my hand raised to stop him from touching me. So this is my fault? Because I was working toward our future. That's not what I meant. I pulled out my phone, opened our text thread. 2 days ago, you texted me missing you, can't wait for the weekend. Was that before or after you were with her? Maya was fully dressed now, tears streaming down her face. It was a mistake, Zara. We were both drunk, and one thing led to another, and then, we didn't know how to tell you. I scrolled through my phone, pulled up Maya's Instagram. So that girl's night 3 weeks ago when you posted about missing me? You were with him, weren't you? Her silence was confirmation enough. Zara, baby, please, Alex tried again. Don't call me that. I walked to our closet, pulled out my overnight bag. I need both of you to leave. This is my apartment too, Alex protested. Fine. I shoved essential items into my bag. Then I'll go. Maya stepped forward. Where will you stay? Let me help. The laugh that escaped me was hollow. Are you serious right now? You want to help? I grabbed my laptop, wallet, and keys. The small gift box with the concert ticket sat on the counter next to the cooling Thai food. I considered taking it, then left it there, a reminder of what he'd thrown away. Zara, can we please just talk about this? Alex followed me to the door. I made a mistake, but I love you. Maya means nothing. Maya gasped behind him. Apparently I meant nothing too, I said, yanking open the door. 6 years, Alex. 6 years down the drain because you couldn't keep it in your pants. It wasn't like that. Maya cried. We never meant to hurt you. It just happened. I turned to face them one last time, the pain transforming into something harder, colder. Things don't just happen, Maya. You make choices. Both of you made choices, repeatedly, for months, knowing exactly what you were doing. The rain started the moment I stepped outside, soaking through my thin blouse. I didn't care. The cold matched the numbness spreading through me. 6 years with Alex. 20 years of friendship with Maya. Gone in an instant. My phone buzzed with a text from Alex. Please come back. We can work through this. I'm so sorry. Another from Maya. I hate myself for hurting you. Please let me explain. I silenced both conversations and called the only person I knew wouldn't ask questions. Rachel? It's Sarah. Can I stay with you tonight? No. No, I don't want to talk about it yet. Yes, I'm okay. I'll explain everything later. As I waited for my Uber, watching the rain puddle around my feet, I made myself a promise. This wouldn't break me. Somehow, I would rebuild my life, without either of them in it. The married hotel room became my refuge for the next week. Rachel had offered her spare bedroom, but I couldn't bear the thought of answering questions or seeing the pity in her eyes. I needed anonymity. Silence. Space to process the crater where my life used to be. I called in sick for 3 days, something I'd never done in my 5 years at Apex Marketing. On the 4th day, my boss Claire called directly. Zara, I'm sorry for whatever you're going through, but the Crawford account presentation is in 5 days. We need you back. The Crawford account. The biggest potential client in the company's history. Under normal circumstances, I would have been thrilled to lead the pitch. Now, I could barely summon the energy to shower. I'll be there tomorrow, I promised, my voice hollow. That night, my phone lit up with Alex's 15th call of the day. I'd blocked both him and Maya, but he kept finding new numbers to reach me. This time, I answered. Stop calling me. Zara, please, his voice broke. Just meet me for coffee. 10 minutes. That's all I'm asking. Why? So you can explain how sleeping with my best friend wasn't your fault? How I drove you to it by working too hard? I made a terrible mistake. Maya and I. Don't say her name to me. The rage that replaced my numbness surprised even me. You don't get to explain or apologize or feel better about what you did. You chose this, Alex. Now you get to live with it. I hung up, turned off my phone, and stared at the ceiling until morning. The office felt like a stage set the next day, familiar but unreal. Colleagues smiled awkwardly, clearly having heard something was wrong. Claire ushered me into her office immediately. You look like hell, she said, not unkindly. Thank you for noticing. The Crawford team will be here Monday at 10 a.m. Ethan Crawford himself is attending. I nodded, trying to focus. Ethan Crawford, 34-year-old tech billionaire turned investor, notorious for his exacting standards and ruthless business tactics. His investment could transform our agency, and my career along with it. I'll be ready, I promised. The weekend passed in a blur of preparation. Work was the only thing keeping me from collapsing. Every slide I created, every word I rehearsed was a moment I didn't have to think about Alex and Maya. Monday arrived too quickly. I stood in the conference room, straightening my notes as the team settled in. Claire whispered, "He's here," moments before the door opened. Ethan Crawford wasn't what I expected. Tall and broad-shouldered in a perfectly tailored navy suit, he had the kind of presence that made everyone else fade into background characters. His dark eyes scanned the room, settling on me with unsettling intensity. I began the presentation on autopilot. Slides advanced, words flowed, but halfway through outlining our strategy, the room blurred. The lack of sleep, food, and emotional stability of the past week caught up with me in a single, devastating moment. The multi-platform approach will target key demographics across. My voice trailed off. The words on my notes swam before my eyes. Ms. Young. Ethan Crawford's voice cut through the fog. Are you all right? I wasn't. The PowerPoint slide showed a graph of projected engagement metrics, but superimposed in my mind was an image of Alex and Maya together. In our bed. Laughing at me. I apologize, I managed. If you'll excuse me for just a moment. I fled to the bathroom, gripping the sink as tears finally broke through my carefully constructed professional facade. The door opened behind me, and I expected to see Claire, ready with a pep talk or a firing. Either would have been appropriate. Instead, Ethan Crawford stood in the doorway of the women's bathroom, looking completely unapologetic about being there. "This is the ladies' room," I said stupidly. I cleared it before entering. His voice was matter-of-fact. "You're about to lose my account." I straightened, wiping my eyes. "I know. I'm sorry." "Don't apologize. Tell me what's wrong." I almost laughed. "That's not how this works." "It is today." He leaned against the wall, arms crossed. "I don't invest in companies, I invest in people. And you, Ms. Young, were brilliant for the first 10 minutes before something broke." I want to know what. Maybe it was his directness. Maybe it was having nothing left to lose. Whatever the reason, I told him, about Alex, about Maya, about coming home early to surprise the man I thought I'd marry. When I finished, he simply nodded. "Finish the presentation." Just like that. Just like that. Channel whatever you're feeling into convincing me your strategy is worth $50 million. Somehow, I did. The pitch concluded without further incident, though I barely remembered what I said. As the Crawford team filed out, Ethan lingered. "You'll have our decision by the end of the week," he said formally, then added in a lower voice. "For what it's worth, anyone stupid enough to cheat on someone with your capabilities has done you a favor." That afternoon, I returned to my hotel room to find an email from Maya. The subject line made my stomach drop. "Save the date, Maya and Alex." 3 weeks. It had taken them 3 weeks to decide to get married. Attached was a digital save-the-date card with their smiling faces and a date 6 months away. Her message was brief. "I know you hate me right now, but I hope someday you can forgive us. You'll always be my oldest friend." I deleted the email, then threw up in the hotel bathroom. 3 months after the betrayal, as I'd come to call it in my mind, my life had developed a new rhythm. Wake up, work obsessively, collapse into bed, repeat. I'd moved into a small but expensive apartment downtown, closer to the office. The Crawford account, which we'd somehow secured despite my meltdown, kept me busy enough to avoid thinking about the wedding invitations that would inevitably arrive soon. Ethan Crawford had become a regular presence at our agency. What was supposed to be a standard client relationship had evolved into something more hands-on. He attended weekly meetings, provided direct feedback, and occasionally requested that I personally present updates rather than delegating to my team. "He's taken a professional interest in you," Claire observed after one such meeting. The way she emphasized professional suggested she thought otherwise. "He's just thorough," I replied, gathering my materials. "Besides, after my spectacular almost breakdown during the pitch, he probably wants to make sure I'm stable." Claire raised an eyebrow. "Ethan Crawford doesn't waste time on people he doesn't think are valuable." Whatever his reasons, working directly with the billionaire was both exhausting and exhilarating. He was demanding but fair, critical but never cruel. And unlike most men with his level of wealth and power, he actually listened when I spoke. I was reviewing campaign metrics in my office when my phone buzzed with a text from Rachel. "Sis. Alex and Maya at Antonio's with their wedding planner. Do not come for our dinner tonight." Antonio's was our favorite restaurant, 2 blocks from my office. The place Alex and I had celebrated every anniversary. Of course they would choose it for wedding planning. "Thanks for the warning," I texted back. "Rescheduled tomorrow." I returned to my spreadsheets, determined not to let it affect me. 10 minutes later, my office door opened without a knock. Ethan stood there in his usual impeccable suit, expression unreadable. "Cancel whatever plans you have tonight," he said. "We're having dinner." I blinked at him. "Excuse me. The Thompson proposal needs work. We'll discuss it over dinner." I could revise it now in email. "Dinner, Ms. Young. 7 o'clock. I'll send a car." He turned to leave, then paused. "Wear something formal." Before I could argue further, he was gone, leaving me staring at the empty doorway. At 6:55, I stood outside my building in a black cocktail dress I'd bought for the agency's holiday party but never worn. A sleek black car pulled up, and the driver opened the door to reveal Ethan already inside. "You look appropriate," he said as I slid in. "Your compliments need work," I replied before I could stop myself. To my surprise, the corner of his mouth twitched upward. "Noted." The car pulled away from the curb, and my stomach dropped when I realized our destination. "We're going to Antonio's." Ethan watched me carefully. "Is that a problem?" I hesitated, then decided on honesty. "My ex is there with his fiancée, my former best friend, planning their wedding." "I know." "You know?" He shrugged. "Your assistant mentioned it when I asked about Antonio's reservations. And you still chose to go there." "I always go where I intend to go, Ms. Yang." At Antonio's, the maître d' escorted us to the best table in the house, centered in the main dining room with perfect visibility. I spotted Alex and Maya immediately at a corner table with a woman I assumed was their wedding planner. Maya saw me first, her eyes widening. She nudged Alex, whose head jerked up like he'd been shocked. Ethan placed his hand at the small of my back, guiding me to our table. The gesture was casual but possessive, visible to anyone watching, and Alex was definitely watching. "You did this on purpose," I murmured as Ethan held out my chair. "I did," he acknowledged, taking his seat. "Does that bother you?" I considered the question as our waiter poured wine. "I'm not sure yet." Dinner progressed with business discussion that felt oddly like a script, Ethan asking questions he already knew the answers to, me providing information I'd already shared in meetings. From the corner of my eye, I could see Alex and Maya stealing glances at our table. "They're staring," I said quietly. "Of course they are," Ethan replied, refilling my wine glass. "You're having dinner with someone far more successful than your ex could ever hope to be." I laughed despite myself. "Is that what this is? Some kind of power move to make me feel better?" Ethan set down his glass. "No, Ms. Yang. This is a business proposal. The Thompson campaign. A marriage of convenience." I choked on my wine. "I beg your pardon. I require a wife for the next phase of my business expansion. You need to show your ex what he lost. It's a mutually beneficial arrangement." I stared at him, waiting for the punchline. When none came, I whispered, "Are you insane?" "I'm practical. The arrangement would be temporary, 1 year minimum with option to extend. You'd have your own suite in my home, a generous monthly allowance, and complete financial independence after we part ways." "You can't be serious." "I'm always serious, Ms. Yang." At that moment, Alex appeared beside our table, his expression a mixture of confusion and hostility. "Zara," he said, ignoring Ethan completely. "Can we talk privately for a minute?" Before I could respond, Ethan extended his hand. "Ethan Crawford. You must be the idiot." "I need to be absolutely clear," I said, pacing across the polished marble floor of Ethan's downtown penthouse office. "I'm not agreeing to this because I'm still hung up on Alex." Ethan watched me from behind his desk, the city skyline a glittering backdrop behind him. "Your motivations are irrelevant to me as long as you fulfill your contractual obligations." After the disastrous dinner at Antonio's, which ended with Alex storming off and Maya in tears, I told Ethan he was insane. 2 weeks and 3 accidental run-ins with the happy couple later, I wasn't so sure anymore. Each time I saw them, Alex looked at me with a mixture of pity and guilt that made my blood boil. So here I was, negotiating my fake marriage contract like it was a business merger. Which, I supposed, it was. "The contract needs to protect both of us," Diana, Ethan's elegantly intimidating lawyer, explained as she slid a thick document across the table. 1 year minimum term, mutual non-disclosure agreement, financial provisions. I skimmed the pages, trying to process the surreal nature of what I was doing. "Separate bedrooms." "Of course," Ethan replied. "This isn't a romantic arrangement. And I can continue working." I expect you to. Your career success only enhances our public narrative. Diana pointed to a section toward the end. These are the terms of dissolution. After 1 year, either party may initiate divorce proceedings with the pre-agreed settlement structure. The settlement made me pause: a 7-figure sum, a fully paid condo, an investment portfolio. Enough to never worry about money again. This is excessive. It's fair compensation for a year of your life, Ethan said simply. I continued reading, then stopped at a particular clause. I would be required to attend public events with you, including Alex and Maya's wedding. Ethan's expression remained neutral. That's correct. I want it known publicly that we were already married before their ceremony. You want me to upstage their wedding? Precisely. A small, vengeful part of me thrilled at the idea. The rational part recognized how petty it was. I have conditions of my own, I said, straightening my shoulders. If we're doing this, we make it convincing. No cold, businesslike public interactions. If people are going to believe we're married, we need to at least appear to like each other. Ethan considered me for a moment. Acceptable. Anything else? Yes. I need to know about your life, your history, your preferences, your habits. Enough to pass as your wife without embarrassing either of us. That goes both ways. Of course. I took a deep breath. And no dating other people during this time. Not because I care about your personal life, but because it would undermine the arrangement. Ethan's mouth quirked. Agreed. Anything else? Yes. I pointed to the document. It says here you expect me to move into your residence immediately after the ceremony. I'll need time to pack my apartment. I'll hire people to handle that. No. Some things I pack myself. He inclined his head in agreement. 2 hours later, I signed my name on the final page, feeling slightly dizzy at what I'd just committed to. The ceremony will be next Saturday, Ethan announced, gathering the signed papers. Next Saturday? That's barely 10 days away. Is that a problem? Don't we need more time to prepare? To learn about each other? We'll crash course it, he replied, checking his watch. Starting now. Dinner at my place. 7 o'clock. Bring an overnight bag with enough for the weekend. The weekend? If we're going to convince people we're in love, Ms. Young, we need to at least know what the other person eats for breakfast. I left his office in a daze, wondering what bizarre alternative universe I'd stumbled into. By the time I reached my apartment, a text from Ethan had already arrived. Food allergies? Dietary restrictions? I stared at the message, suddenly laughing at the absurdity of it all. None, I typed back. But I hate cilantro and I don't eat veal. His response came immediately. Noted. 7 o'clock. Don't be late. Our wedding was nothing like the elaborate affair I'd once planned with Alex. No white gown, no teary father walking me down the aisle, no childhood friends throwing rice. Just a civil ceremony at City Hall with Ethan's lawyer Diana and my colleague Rachel as witnesses, followed by a small reception at Ethan's penthouse for carefully selected guests. I wore a sleek ivory suit that cost more than 3 months of my previous rent. Ethan wore Tom Ford and a practiced smile that almost reached his eyes when he slid the platinum band onto my finger. You may kiss the bride, the officiant announced. Our first kiss was brief but not as clinical as I'd expected. Ethan's hand at my waist was warm and steady, his lips surprisingly soft. When he pulled away, something flashed in his eyes that I couldn't quite identify. Congratulations, Mrs. Crawford, he murmured, his voice low enough that only I could hear. The name sent an unexpected shiver down my spine. Photos were taken, champagne was poured, and by evening, several strategic social media posts had announced our union to the world. Rachel cornered me by the bar when Ethan was occupied with business associates. What the actual hell, Zara? She hissed, glancing around to ensure no one could hear. 3 months ago you were devastated over Alex, and now you're married to Ethan Crawford? The Ethan Crawford. I sipped my champagne. Sometimes life surprises you. This isn't just a surprise, This is a plot twist worthy of a telenovela. She studied my face. Are you in love with him? I thought of the contract locked in Ethan's safe. We understand each other. That's not an answer. It's the only one I'm giving. I nodded toward the crowd. How many people asked if I was pregnant? Only 3, Rachel grinned. I told them you're just impulsive. By midnight, the guest had departed and I stood alone in the guest suite that was now my room in Ethan's penthouse. The space was larger than my entire apartment, decorated in soothing neutrals with occasional pops of emerald green, my favorite color, though I couldn't remember mentioning that to Ethan. I was halfway through unpacking when a knock came at the door. Ethan stood there, tie loosened, jacket discarded. Everything satisfactory. It's beautiful, I admitted, though a bit overwhelming. He nodded. The staff arrives at 7. Breakfast is at 8. I leave for the office by 9. What about me? You're welcome to continue your normal work schedule. The driver is at your disposal. He turned to leave, then paused. The PR team released our wedding announcement. It's already generating significant buzz. I checked my phone to find dozens of notifications, congratulatory messages, confused inquiries, and several missed calls from Alex. Maya had sent a text that simply read, "Mission accomplished," I murmured. Life as Mrs. Ethan Crawford developed its own rhythm over the following weeks. During the day, I worked at Apex, maintaining professional distance from my new husband when we intersected in business settings. Evenings found us sharing meals at the penthouse or attending strategic public events where we played our parts with increasing ease. The most surreal moment came at the Harrington Charity Gala, where Ethan's hand never left the small of my back as we circulated among Manhattan's elite. The orchestra began playing, and he led me to the dance floor without warning. I wasn't aware dancing was in our contract, I whispered as his arm encircled my waist. Page 12, paragraph 4, he replied smoothly. Public displays of affection as appropriate to maintain our cover. Is that what this is? His eyes met mine. The board chairman of Nova Technologies is watching. His approval is crucial for our upcoming merger. So I'm a prop in your business negotiation. Something shifted in his expression. No, Zara. You're my partner in it. The way he said my name, not Ms. Young, but Zara, made my heart skip in a way I hadn't anticipated. As we moved across the floor, bodies close, his hand warm against mine, I caught a glimpse of our reflection in the mirrored wall. We looked like any other couple in love, his eyes focused entirely on me, my body fitting perfectly against his taller frame. For just a moment, I forgot it wasn't real. The spell broke when we returned to our table to find an elegant cream envelope waiting. I recognized the calligraphy immediately. Maya had always been proud of her handwriting. Inside was a formal invitation to their wedding, just 6 weeks away. A handwritten note fell out with it. Zara, I know nothing I say can repair what we did. But before you throw this away, please know I miss my best friend every day. I'm sorry. Maya. Ethan watched my face carefully as I read it. Shall I RSVP for 2? The line between performance and reality began blurring somewhere between our third charity gala and our first dinner party as hosts. I couldn't pinpoint exactly when Ethan's good morning kiss on the cheek, performed dutifully for the housekeeper's benefit, started lingering a moment too long. Or when I began finding excuses to straighten his already perfect tie before he left for work. Small rituals emerged. Coffee on the terrace at dawn, when both of us were already awake despite the early hour. Nightcaps in his study, discussing everything from childhood memories to philosophical debates. We still maintained separate bedrooms, but the distance between us was closing in other ways. You're different at home, I observed one evening as we shared a bottle of wine on the balcony. The lights of the city spread below us like fallen stars. Ethan raised an eyebrow. Different how? Less. I searched for the right word. Guarded. He swirled the wine in his glass, considering. Most people want something from me. Money, connections, status. It's simpler to maintain barriers. What about me? Don't I want something from you too? His eyes met mine over the rim of his glass. You've been remarkably transparent about what you want from this arrangement. It's refreshing. A comfortable silence settled between us until he spoke again, his voice softer than usual. My mother died when I was 11. Cancer. My father buried himself in work afterward. Ethan rarely spoke about his family. By 14, I was essentially raising myself. That explains a lot, I said without thinking. Instead of being offended, he smiled slightly. Does it? The self-sufficiency. The control issues. The inability to delegate even the smallest tasks. I delegate to you. The simple statement hung in the air between us, weighted with meaning I wasn't ready to examine. The following week, my promotion to Executive Creative Director was announced. At the celebratory dinner Ethan arranged, he presented me with an antique fountain pen I'd admired in a shop window weeks earlier. How did you remember that? I asked, running my fingers along the engraved silver. I remember everything you say, Zara. Something in his tone made me look up. Our eyes locked, and for a breathless moment, I thought he might kiss me, really kiss me, not the perfunctory public displays we'd mastered for appearances. His phone shattered the moment, buzzing insistently on the table between us. The caller ID showed his CFO's name. I should take this, he said, already reverting to business mode. Later that night, I overheard him in his study, voice raised in rare agitation. I don't care about the projections. Find another solution. A pause. That's not acceptable. Nova Technologies is walking away from the table because of the security breach concerns. I hesitated, then knocked softly. He looked up, tension etched across his features. Everything okay? I asked. Cybersecurity issue. Nothing you need to worry about. I leaned against the doorframe. Your prospective partners are concerned about data vulnerability. Yes, but my team just finished a security campaign for the Henderson account. I know the industry players. Maybe I can help. He studied me for a long moment, then gestured to the chair across from him. I'm listening. By 3 a.m., we'd drafted a complete strategy addressing Nova's concerns. His security team implemented our recommendations the next day, and within a week, Nova Technologies was back at the negotiating table. We make a good team, he said as we watched the stock prices climb on his office monitor. We do, I agreed, surprising myself with how much I meant it. That night, as I prepared for bed, I found myself staring at the wedding invitation on my dresser. Alex and Maya's big day was approaching fast. For the first time since receiving it, I realized I wasn't dreading it with the burning anguish I'd expected. Instead, I was mentally selecting my outfit, and looking forward to walking in with Ethan's hand in mine. The thought stopped me cold. This was supposed to be about revenge, about showing Alex what he'd lost. When had it started being about something else entirely? The day of Alex and Maya's wedding arrived with picture-perfect weather, sunny skies mocking my lingering emotional storm. I stood in front of my bedroom mirror, smoothing the silk of my emerald green dress. The color was bold, the cut sophisticated, the price tag astronomical. Are you ready? Ethan appeared in the doorway, devastatingly handsome in a tailored black suit. As I'll ever be, I replied, trying to ignore the flutter in my stomach that had nothing to do with facing my ex and everything to do with how Ethan was looking at me. Nervous? He asked, stepping closer to fasten the clasp of my necklace, a wedding gift from him that I'd initially hesitated to accept. His fingers brushed the nape of my neck, sending shivers down my spine. Not nervous. Just processing. He turned me to face him, his hands resting lightly on my shoulders. Remember, today isn't about them. It's about us. Us. The word felt both foreign and familiar on my tongue. The happy couple, he clarified, though something in his eyes suggested a meaning beyond our arrangement. We arrived at the Botanical Garden venue in Ethan's Aston Martin rather than the usual town car, his deliberate choice for maximum impact. The ceremony was set in the Rose Garden, white chairs arranged in neat rows beneath an ornate floral arch. Guests were already being seated, champagne flutes in hand. Heads turned as we made our entrance. Whispers followed our path down the cobblestone walkway. I recognized faces from my past, college friends, mutual acquaintances, even my former neighbors, all watching with undisguised curiosity. Maya's mother spotted us first. Mrs. Chen had always treated me like a second daughter, even hinting that she'd preferred me for her son-in-law over Maya. The irony wasn't lost on me when she rushed over, bypassing other guests. Zara. What a surprise. Her eyes darted to Ethan, widening in recognition. And Mr. Crawford. We're so honored you could both attend. Mrs. Chen, I smiled politely. Congratulations on the happy occasion. Yes, well. She lowered her voice. We always hoped you'd be part of our family officially, but this. She gestured vaguely toward Ethan. This is quite the upgrade, isn't it? Ethan's arm tightened around my waist. Zara deserves nothing less, he replied smoothly. We were seated near the front, Maya's doing, no doubt. A power move disguised as reconciliation. As we took our places, I caught sight of Alex in his tuxedo, standing tensely beside his best man. His eyes found mine, and for a moment, the crowd disappeared. 6 months ago, that look would have shattered me. Now, I felt only a dull ache, the ghost of what once was. The ceremony began with string quartet music. Maya appeared at the end of the aisle in a princess gown that made my sleek former wedding dress choice seem understated by comparison. As she processed toward Alex, her eyes flickered to where I sat with Ethan. I felt Ethan's hand cover mine, his thumb stroking soothingly across my knuckles. The gesture wasn't for show, no one could see our joined hands. It was just for me. The officiant spoke about love and commitment, about weathering storms together. Each word seemed directed at me, a cosmic joke at my expense. I maintained my composure, face a perfect mask of polite attention. Then came the vows. I promised to always be faithful, Alex said, his voice catching as his eyes drifted momentarily toward our seats. Maya's vows were next, but she faltered after the first line, her voice trembling. I promised to. She stopped, blinking rapidly. The silence stretched uncomfortably. Whispers rippled through the crowd. The officiant leaned closer, asking if she needed a moment. She nodded, dabbing at her eyes with a tissue. Stage fright, someone murmured behind us. Ethan's phone vibrated in his pocket. He checked it discreetly, his expression shifting to one of concern. He leaned close to my ear. Emergency at the office. Security breach. I need to make a call. I nodded, watching as he slipped quietly away. The ceremony resumed, Maya having regained her composure enough to finish her vows. As the officiant pronounced them husband and wife, my phone lit up with a message from Ethan, deal collapsing. Need to leave early. I looked up to see Maya running toward the restrooms, her mother in pursuit, leaving Alex standing awkwardly alone at the altar. Some perfect day. The drive away from the wedding venue was silent, the Aston Martin's engine a comforting purr against the backdrop of my thoughts. Ethan had been uncharacteristically quiet since we'd made our excuses and departed, leaving behind a reception in chaos. Maya had emerged from the bathroom with red-rimmed eyes but insisted the celebration continue. Alex had looked shell-shocked, mechanical in his movements as he greeted guests in the receiving line. That was harder than I expected, I finally admitted, watching the city lights blur past my window. Ethan's hands tightened on the steering wheel. Which part? All of it. Seeing them together. The vows. I paused. Their happiness. He glanced at me. Are you still in love with him? The question hung in the air between us. 6 months ago, I would have said yes without hesitation. Now. No, I realized aloud. I'm not. But it still hurt, not because I want him back, but because of what they took from me. The trust. The certainty. Ethan pulled the car over suddenly, shifting to face me. I need to tell you something. My heart stuttered. Was this where he revealed our arrangement had served its purpose? That he was ready to initiate the dissolution clause? There was no security breach, he said instead. No emergency at the office. I don't understand. I saw your face during the ceremony. You looked. He searched for the right word. Haunted. I thought you might want an excuse to leave. The consideration in that simple act undid me. Without thinking, I leaned across the console and pressed my lips to his. Unlike our practiced public kisses, this one had no audience, no ulterior motive. Just the surprising realization that somewhere along the way, the lines had blurred beyond recognition. Ethan responded immediately, one hand cupping my face, the other at my waist, pulling me closer despite the awkward angle. When we finally broke apart, his eyes were darker than I'd ever seen them. That wasn't in the contract, he murmured. I'd like to renegotiate the terms, I whispered back. That night, I didn't return to my separate suite. 6 months later, we were preparing for a trip to the Maldives, a belated honeymoon, we told everyone, when the doorman called up to announce an unexpected visitor. Alex stood in our lobby, looking smaller than I remembered. Thinner. His eyes had the haunted quality mine once held. 2 minutes, Ethan growled, positioning himself protectively at my side. That's all you get. Alex nodded, his gaze fixed on me. Maya left me, he said without preamble. 3 weeks ago. She said she couldn't live with what we'd done to you. I felt Ethan tense beside me but kept my own expression neutral. I'm sorry to hear that. I made a terrible mistake, Zara. Alex's voice cracked. The biggest mistake of my life. I've never stopped loving you. Not really. He stepped forward, pleading. Whatever this is, he gestured vaguely at Ethan, it can't be what we had. 6 years. We had 6 years. 5 minutes, Ethan corrected, surprising us both. The last year, you were already with her. Color flooded Alex's face. You don't know anything about us. I know enough. Ethan's voice was cold. I know you had someone who loved you completely, and you threw it away for a cheap thrill. It wasn't like that. Wasn't it? I finally spoke, my voice calmer than I felt. It doesn't matter now, Alex. I wish you well, but there's nothing left between us. You can't mean that. This marriage, it happened so fast. Everyone knows it's just for show. His eyes pleaded with me. Come home, Zara. Please. I am home, I said simply, reaching for Ethan's hand. Goodbye, Alex. Later, as our private jet soared toward crystal blue waters and white sand beaches, Ethan traced patterns on my palm with his finger. Did you mean what you said? About being home. I looked at the man who had entered my life as a business arrangement and somehow became everything. Yes. Though I wouldn't mind renewing our vows without all those pesky contractual clauses. He smiled, bringing my hand to his lips. I think that can be arranged. I hesitated, then added, there's something else we should discuss before we land. What's that? I placed his hand on my still flat stomach. Our contract may need an amendment for a third party. The look on Ethan Crawford's face, billionaire, businessman, my unexpected love, was worth every moment of heartbreak that had led me here. Sometimes the most genuine love stories begin with the falsest of starts. 2 years after our arrangement began, I stood in the nursery of our Hamptons home, watching Ethan rock our 6-month-old daughter to sleep. Sophia Elise Crawford had her father's dark eyes and my stubborn chin, a perfect blend of us both. She's finally down, Ethan whispered, carefully placing her in the crib. I leaned against his side as we watched her peaceful slumber. Worth every sleepless night. The journey to this moment had been far from conventional. Our first anniversary, the date when our contract had originally allowed for dissolution, had passed without mention of separation. Instead, Ethan had surprised me with papers of a different sort, the deed to a weekend home in the Hamptons and plans to renovate the penthouse nursery. My career had flourished alongside our relationship. Apex had promoted me to Chief Creative Officer, and Ethan had supported every step of my professional growth, even when it meant late nights and working weekends. The man who once required a contractual marriage had become my biggest champion, in boardrooms and beyond. We moved quietly from the nursery to the deck overlooking the ocean, where a bottle of wine awaited us, our Friday night tradition when the baby allowed. Rachel called today, I said, accepting the glass Ethan offered. She's engaged. The professor from Columbia. I nodded. Wedding's next spring. She wants Sophia to be the flower girl. Ethan smiled. She'll be walking by then. Probably running, knowing her personality. The gentle crash of waves filled our comfortable silence until Ethan spoke again. I saw the social media post, he said carefully. About Maya's book deal. I'd seen it too, Maya's announcement of her memoir about friendship, betrayal, and redemption. The promotional copy hinted at a thinly veiled account of our triangle with Alex. Does it bother you? He asked when I didn't respond. I considered the question honestly. No. That chapter of my life feels like it happened to someone else. I looked at the man beside me, my partner in every sense of the word. I'm too busy living this one. Ethan's phone chimed with an email notification. He glanced at it, then set the phone aside with a smile. Good news? I asked. The foundation approved the scholarship program. 20 students will receive full rides to college next fall. The Crawford Foundation had been Ethan's latest passion project, a way to provide educational opportunities to underprivileged students. He'd thrown himself into it with the same intensity he brought to business deals, but with a gentleness that still surprised me sometimes. You've changed, I observed, not for the first time. He arched an eyebrow. So have you. The woman I met would never have delegated the Singapore campaign to her team. Priorities change, I said, thinking of our daughter sleeping inside. Speaking of change, Ethan reached into his pocket, extracting a small velvet box. I think we're overdue for this. Inside was a stunning emerald ring, surrounded by diamonds that caught the fading sunlight. We're already married, I reminded him, though my heart raced. On paper. He took my hand. I want to marry you for real this time. No contracts, no arrangements. Just us. My eyes filled with unexpected tears. Are you sure? I come with a lot of baggage. Baggage? He laughed softly. Zara, when I met you, I was incapable of trusting anyone. I'd built walls so high I couldn't even see over them anymore. His thumb traced my wedding band. You didn't just climb those walls, you made me want to tear them down myself. In the distance, a ship's light blinked on the darkening horizon. The moment felt pivotal, though nothing would actually change with my answer. We were already bound in all the ways that mattered. Yes, I said simply, allowing him to slide the emerald onto my finger alongside the platinum band that had once symbolized our business arrangement. Later that night, with Sophia's baby monitor glowing softly on the nightstand, I curled against Ethan's chest and thought about the strange path that had led us here. How the worst betrayal of my life had ultimately guided me to my best decision. Sometimes the most genuine love stories begin with the falsest of starts, and sometimes what looks like an ending is really just the beginning. What had started as a contract had become a covenant. What began as revenge had transformed into redemption. And the arrangement that was supposed to be temporary had become the most permanent thing in my life. Some might call it luck. Others, fate. But I knew better. It was simply what happened when two people who never expected to fall in love created something real from something false, and found themselves precisely where they were always meant to be.